What's up? Um, yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about making your watch lists with unusual whales with TA. Got a ton of questions on that. Just doing a little housekeeping. I have no idea how long this video is going to take, so we'll see. And all right, let's just dive into it. I'm not all about the song and dance. So the first thing I wanted to do is just show that accountability is just as much a part of your watch list of the stocks that you pick yourself. It's the only way that you learn if you're picking the right things to follow. And if you are picking the right things to follow, then you know that what you need to work on is discipline. Because I value transparency, honesty, reflectiveness, I took this screenshot of my posts, all that I've done in Twitter. I keep an active tally of what I call out with both the entries and exits. I know that's a little crazy in the world of FinTwit, but what can I say? I'm an idealist who believes in being transparent, but FinTwit is a clown car. It's a circus. But anyway, I'm not going to get into my personal opinions. So looking at the plays that I've had, just one thing I wanted to point out that'll help you when you're making your watch list. I have full confidence in my watch list because look at the ratio of green to red. But immediately what I can see here is that where I struggle is cutting losers. 3 weeks ago, I guess I should say 3 weeks ago, I did a great job with that, right? My biggest hit was 20%. And then look at that next week, had a good hit rate, but I lost I lost a ton of money on these two plays I should have been out of. And then here last week got a little bit better again. Big wins in the greens, but here. So what this shows me, and what it'll show you if you do your journaling and tracking of your watch list, is whether you're picking the right plays or whether you're playing them the wrong way. So here I can see I'm picking the right plays. I can see I'm doing well and getting better, but I can also see that I need to really learn how to cut a loser. The other thing that this shows me too is that I'm being selective, which I'm okay with for right now. I'm not a full-time trader. I have an actual job too. So for me to be taking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays a day is unreasonable. I'm happy with picking plays that I think will win and then seeing that play out. In 2022, I'm probably going to take like 25, 30% more per day, but I wanted to show you that being selective is just as effective as choosing a lot of plays. I'd rather put 10% of my capital with something I really believe in than small amounts just sprinkled everywhere. So that was just the first little bit I wanted to talk about. Your watch list can show you what it is you're doing well at. So let's get to the whales part. So everyone thinks that the way to source what it is you want on your watch list is here on the flow screen, but I would argue that it's actually the forgotten stepchild of the unusual whales world. I take it back to alerts. And the reason I take it back to alerts, a few different reasons. The first thing I want to say is that this is how my watch list looks now. I mean, that's not my final watch list, but this is my universe of tickers, right? That's a lot. So while you're building it up to there, there's a couple ways you can't build it up to there, right? The first way you could do is just shotgun spray and just throw in every ticker that crosses your path on Twitter, on Reddit, on wherever, and just have it in there and build up a list. I personally like to keep mine at like at least 100, 150 so that I have real options. But I know that you're probably saying, I'm just starting doing this and don't really have the time to do that. So that's why I say probably the most effective thing for you then is to be looking at the alerts. The reason I look at the alerts is that I can see plays that already have potential to be unusual, and then the work that I have to do to get from there to having them a part of my watch list is much easier. So just what I do is I scroll down the alerts screen, and what I'm looking for to source my watch list is plays that are outside the money, relatively close dated, usually within the next month or so. So this is, what's today? Sunday. Today's Sunday. You know how it is between Christmas and New Year's. You don't know when the fuck it is. You're just, you're off work. You're drunk half the time. You know how it is. So I'm looking and I see, all right, let's take Neo here. So I see a Neo call placed on for Thursday, right? Thursday was our Friday this week, 12/23. For 12/31, that is 13% outside the money. Well, that's fucking weird. So the next thing I'm going to do is go over to my watch list and see if I want to keep an eye on it. So this is where something becomes really important. I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but you're going to have essentially 4 watch lists. You're going to have your master list, which is all these. You're going to have your simmering list, which is ones that are within a few percent of the trigger. Again, your simmering list, I mean, I call it on deck sometimes. Basically, it's your plays that need a little more time to develop, maybe 3%, 4%, 4% at the max. And then you have, I mean, I call it my ready list, I think. Yeah. And then my ready list is plays that I'm ready for. This is from Thursday, so it's outdated. I still haven't done my watch list fully for tonight, but I'm partially doing it here in this video. So I'm going to go back to the alerts really quick because I think that's the most effective way to do it, but please keep that structure in mind. I use 3 to 4 watch lists, my master list, my simmering or on deck list, and my ready list. So here, I saw Neo, great. I'm going to think about that for my watch list. I see General Electric, 99 call, for 114, so that's less than a month out, 5%. So I'm also going to consider that unusual. So going back to and then one more way you could do this actually, if you really want to use the flow screen, you could just go to all tickers. You could set a filter for, let's take NVIDIA out. Let's set a premium range for like 100,000. And just take a look at what's coming through. You're going to get bombarded with Tesla, but like, okay, and then we also want to make sure that we have the right expiration. So I'm actually going to make sure that we filter 12/23 out because those don't update until Monday. Let's take those out. So I'm seeing, looks like someone bought they sold a lucid call for, well, it's too far away. Right, this might be interesting. Google put bought for 2022 218. So that might be a place that I start looking at. Common sense just tells me to look into these. We've got a NVIDIA sold call for next week for 150,000. So that's another way to do things. This cost stuff is interesting up here. I love playing Costco, particularly on Fridays, because when it moves, you make a lot of money. So those are kind of the ways that I source things. Just to remind you, I check short dated, outside the money tickers on unusual whales alerts, and I set high premium screens on unusual whales flow. One more thing that I do, so we created this site, spotrambo.com, which keeps track of events catalysts. It's really light right now. Going to the new year, we're going to do a big load on later tonight and Monday. So this is where you can track things that are happening with tickers, and that's a great way to source because I might say, okay, on Wednesday, the 5th, Micron has a event coming up, and then I can go look at the flow for Micron. I can check the chart and see, I have it up. I can check the chart. My trigger should actually be right here now. Okay, I can check the chart for Micron. Apparently, I can't click today. Whatever. And I see, okay, they have an event on Wednesday. They're this close to the trigger. I'm going to assume they have good flow right now. I don't feel like digging into all of that. So I would like Micron for my watch list. And remember our scale of 3 things. We have the master list, everything. We have the simmering list for plays that are 4% or closer to being at their trigger. Then we like the flow, and then we have ready, which is plays that are going to go. I keep one down here too. I said 4 in the beginning because I also have an unusual option activity one. So that's just where I put plays from unusual whales that are super weird, but they don't have the TA to back them up, and then I can keep checking the volume and stuff on them. So that's how that works. So the segmenting, as you can see, is really based largely on the triggers after I find some whale stuff. I also do this the other way too, where I will look at triggers and then I will check the flow against them, or sometimes I look at flow then I check the triggers. It depends on what mood I'm in that day, but either method is valid to do that. So once I have my 4 segmented lists, right, you've made those, you have a decent master list, you have your simmering list ready, you have your, what's the other one, ready list ready. You're going to go over to the alerts and let's take a closer look. So Neo 34C. So what I'm going to look for is this. Is Neo just a master list play? Like, is there no good TA to go with the call I'm seeing? Is Neo a simmering play? Here, let me highlight this actually. Is Neo a simmering play that has potential? Or is Neo just ready to rock? Is it close to the trigger and it's go time? So let's take a look. Let's put Neo in here. All right, so this is my trigger for Neo that's been preset. If you want a super quick little tutorial on why, it's because I like this gap candle to get filled, maybe not necessarily in like an hour or a day, but it will. So I see Neo is 30.44. It's doing some rough math, like 1.5% away. For my ready ones, I like them to be within 1%. So I'm going to consider this simmering for right now, or on deck, whichever one. I mean, call it whatever you want. I'm just saying this is what I call it. There's no rule that says you have to call it something ridiculous like simmering. So I saw that activity on, and here's the trigger right here. So I saw that activity on Neo. I saw the alert right there, see, that we mentioned. And I see that Neo is kind of close to a trigger, so I'm going to go over here, personal. I'm going to go to my simmering list, and I'm going to say that Neo. Hold on a second, I gotta remove one or something because this is. Okay, so I'm going to say that Neo is simmering, and then if I get like a trigger alert, then it's go time. The other one we were looking at, let's see, we had, I think it was GE. Yeah, we're looking at GE. So GE right here, again, that 99 call outside the money. So let's go ahead and take a look at where Neo or where GE was, see if it's near the money, at the money, near the trigger. It is a 99 call, which is way, way up. We got a trigger right here again to take out this gap candle, right? So to me, I see that GE is at 93.76. My trigger's at 94.53. That's the top of the price action there. So I like GE for my ready list because that's give or take a few percent within 1%. So I'm going to go ahead over here. Of course, my computer's starting to slow down. Ready, and I'm going to go with GE. So that's a really simple way that works. I really want to reiterate that, though. The first thing I look at is what the alerts are. I'm looking for outside the money alerts, and I'm also checking spotrambo.com to see if there's a better catalyst coming up. And then my last choice is that I just kind of scan flow to see where big orders came in and see what I can do. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go over to my watch list and see if something is just a part of the master list, which means that it's nowhere close to being ready right now. But remember, this stays static. Your master list is always your master list. You don't take stocks out and put them in. This is just where you choose from. And then you have your simmering list. So we just found out that Neo simmering, it's nearly ready. This list is within 4% of the trigger or higher. And then our ready list is ones that are within 1% of the trigger or closer. One more thing I want to point out really quickly about your master list is that it's a great way to also source for stocks that moved against the price action of the day. So for example, let's say it was a super red day, and then I sorted it by like what was green or something like that, or looked through for the green tickers. Then I might say, okay, it was super red. When was up 3.51%? What's going on with them? And then that's a reason to check the flow or something like that. So that's kind of the basics of how I set that part up. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm sneaking strikes and expirations in here because I get a lot of calls on that, and that actually plays into your watch list in a sense because you know what you want to do. So if I go over to ready, right? What I typically do is I trust the whales to a certain extent and then don't trust them to a certain extent. So for example, with GE, the whale had, what did the whale have? The whale had 99 call, 5% outside the money, expiring 114. So that's actually far enough that I'm not going to go with that strike, because if the whale is wrong, if the news doesn't come through, if it was purely a technicals play, I might strike out. But with that much time on it, you know what I do like? I like my price target on a trigger. So I might go with a 97, a 96 probably, 96, and just, give it a few days to go. So that's kind of how I determine swings versus day trades. If I'm going with a swing, it's because I see a lot of room to run, and I see that the whale gave it some time. That's how CVS made me a bunch of money. I saw the whale was like 10% outside the money, and the play was like a month out. I went with I think the stock was trading at about 94. The whale made 100 call, so I split the middle, went with like a 96, 97, and that worked out for me. If you're not doing a swing or something like that, and you're trying to day trade, which I know probably a lot of people in this aren't kind of ready for that frequency yet, but if you're trying to day trade and flip contracts, then what you need to know about the strike and expiration is that you can go with a weekly that's close, but you have to have a lot of discipline. So let's say hypothetically my target for GE was right here at 93.53. This is just a hypothetical. That's my first price target for GE, right? Drawing. Then if that's my first price target and I'm day trading, I need to go with the strike and expiration. If it's before Thursday, I'm probably going to go with that same week. But here's the thing. I'm going to be really disciplined about my target. And I'm also going to be really disciplined about my stop. If you need to learn about stops and triggers and that kind of thing, the previous video to this one is a good one for you. But if I see it hit my target at all, when I'm watching it on the 5 or the 15 minute, no matter what, I'm taking it. If I'm doing a close strike and a close expiration. Also, because I'm doing that same week, I'm not going to follow the same strategy I had when I was doing a swing. Instead, what I'm going to do is go with the nearest out the money strike price. So I think in this situation, it would likely be 95, because you see that right now the trigger's sitting at 94.53, which is where I'd enter. So I would just take the 95 call, expiring that week. If it hits this target, it's in the money anyway. But once it hits that target, I don't care if it's 15% gain, I don't care if it's 30% gain, I don't care if it's 50% gain, you have to take profits. I think a lot of things with strike and expiration is people go with these huge plays trying to keep up with the whale, and then they take them too short and they get burned. Just play it with a little bit more discernment, I guess I'd say, and common sense. And the other thing that's key in there, what I described, is the discipline. I think people are, not to get on a soapbox, but I think all these fucking crazy gains that people are seeing all around Twitter and Reddit, and even I heard TikTok, like people are posting stupid ass stock stuff. So people aren't showing discipline, and they're following whales on these ridiculously out the money strikes with the same week expiration, and that's not trading. What you really need to do if you're going to make your watch list and focus on entries and exits is get very comfortable with the term 20% is a great fucking play, right? Like if you hit that and you get maybe 25%, that's a fantastic play. People are just in this weird mindset where it's like if you don't get 100% on a play, you suck. And it's like not realistic or sustainable. So that's why I'm saying just keep your discipline. So again, I'm really going to review that because I kind of rambled and I want to keep it tight and focused. I am giving a contract some time if I like the room between my price target, right there. If I like the room between my price target and my trigger, A. B, if I see the whale is giving it some time. In that situation, I'm comfortable going more outside the money, but likely not as far as the whale. I will pick something that's probably in the middle that represents a reasonable price target for the stock over that period of time. I'll probably hold till it reaches the price target there on a longer term play, like a couple weeks, few weeks, or a month. If I want to day trade it, I'm taking the same week expiration if it's before Thursday. If not, I'm taking it for the next week. And once it crosses the trigger and does my retest, I am selling at target one no matter what. Again, you can watch our last video for setting the target. But this doesn't change no matter what, because if I hit that target, I'm going to make a solid percentage. And I'm always going to choose a strike that represents the nearest out the money call option for that play. In and out. That's how you're day trading it. Those are how I pick strikes and expirations. And then the other thing I want to remind you from that is just really, really, really give the whales room. Do not chase these out the money whales expire the same week or even the next week. You will get burned. But also, if you're following a play strictly for the unusual options for the whale, size accordingly. Don't go huge on that. So that also affects my watch list. The next thing I want to talk about is just how your watch list plays out with these gap ups. I think I have an example here from this week that I could share. So I took Wells Fargo. I think it was it Tuesday? Yes. Okay, here it is. So I took Wells Fargo on Monday afternoon because I really liked the movement and it hit a trigger and it just looked great to me. And then, here, let me show you. Like I took it right here-ish. And then on Tuesday, it did this shit, right? It gapped up hard. And the reason I took the Wells Fargo play was because I was following a whale that went really super outside the money for this coming week. And it was Tuesday. So I said, okay, I'll play ball because I like the way things looked. And it gapped up. I immediately took profits on the gap up on Tuesday, right here at the, like where this blue box is. Now, I could, if I held, it was like a 48 call. And it was I sold it when it opened in the money. Sure, if I'd held, it would have gotten much higher. But here's the thing. A lot of times what the whales are playing is an overnight gap for some reason that they know is going to come. I've also been in a lot of situations where if I wouldn't have sold it here, right after the open, it's way down here. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. A lot of times they're just playing these overnight gaps because guess what? In this situation, a bunch of whales work for banks or financial institutions, so they know when a bank's going to run. They know when JP Morgan's going to do something. They know when Wells Fargo's going to do something. So they bet on the overnight gap up and they sell it off on you. It's very rare that it keeps rising up like this. So that's just a word to the wise. Take your profits if you get a gap up on a whale follow play because they're not holding it till the end. They don't have to hold it till the end. They're just flipping it on you. Please remember that. The last thing I want to talk about, which I think is really important, is maintaining your watch list. Now, this is mostly a TA thing. This isn't really about unusual whales, but it's super important that you're going through your watch list each night. So I'm going to show you the process that I use. The first thing I do is I review my ready list. I see at the end of the day which ones got further from the trigger, which ones got closer to the trigger, and I order them over here. I mean, whatever app you use, Weeple, I don't care. I think you can do the same kinds of things. So, you know, if Activision didn't break the trigger but got closer to the trigger, Activision's now, of course it won't let me do this. Okay. Then Activision is now on the top of my watch list. If it was Uber, Uber's at the top of my watch list. You can see I'm doing this over here. Snap, it will be Snap at the top of my watch list. Whichever one's closest, I go in order. If something gets a few percent away, or it's just not even close to the trigger, gap down or something, if it's within that 4%, it's going into simmering. If it's not, then I'm just deleting it from my ready list, and now you're back inside the master list. You've been cast asunder into the world of darkness, never to be seen from again. So that's the first thing I'm doing, is cleaning out my ready list so that I still have stocks that I like in there. Second thing I'm doing, I'm going through my simmering or on deck list. I'm seeing what got closer to the trigger. I'm seeing if any of them were ready. So if Square, for example, moved even closer to the trigger, let's say it was at negative 4% away. It was 4% away from my trigger, and then today it moved 0.5% away. Square is now getting a promotion. So I take the ghost of Jack and I put him here in ready. So now it's updated with the nearest one. The other thing I do is I check the volume and stuff like that on the plays I have. So if Square moved into ready, for example, I'm gonna go to Unusual Whales Flow. And then I'm gonna check out Square. I'm gonna go to Quick View. I'm gonna take a look at what the activity looked like. Make sure that it looks all good. Because remember, I talked about this in my last video. I'm only taking plays if TA and the flow line up, not if the flow is good and the TA sucks, not if the TA sucks and the flow is good, which is why you see in that picture I showed, I only take really high confidence plays. I don't take that many right now because I like to see both things interact. Some people like to take more risks. That's fine. Risk management, blah, 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 blah. But that's just what I do, what works for me for capital preservation, but also for, right? Like I don't want to just be sitting there doubting every play I'm in. So it lets me hold a lot through flags, that kind of thing. The other thing I do is, you know, it can get tedious, but I'll just kind of pop through the master list if I don't have that many plays, right? Like some days I can only find 2 plays using the other sourcing methods. So once you have this built up, I just, you know, go through Disney close, nope. BA close, nope. And I'll just kind of do this until I find something. Like TTD, well, might be simmering, so then I would move TTD. TTD gets a promotion to simmering. As you can see, once you have a lot of these and have done them, it makes it much easier. But here's the huge pain in the ass part. But so you notice, like, do you see how I don't even have to think about these? I could just go through and look. The reason why I can do that is because I took the time to set all my triggers when I entered the stock, or when I entered the stock into my watch list. So I know it sucks, but you got to go through and enter triggers for all these. It's the only way you'll know what's ready or not, because for the last part, what you need to see is that you have to set alerts. So I use Thinkorswim, so I can actually set up text message alerts to go to my phone. So for example, when I wake up in the morning, or if I wake up in the middle of the night, I always wake up like in the middle of the night because I've got annoying ass cats. I can see what's happening pre-market, and I have text messages already telling me what triggers popped. So then I literally just have to watch for the retest at open, which is pretty amazing. What you could use, I'm sure that Weeble has stuff for that. I don't know. I'm sure that, well, Robinhood doesn't have charting, so I'm not going to say that they do. Another thing you could do if you don't have like charting software or whatever that lets you get direct alerts, is that you can go to the Yahoo Finance app and you could actually you could create alerts for your triggers. You could put them in the Yahoo Finance app and then you'll get a notification if your notifications are on that your level's been crossed. I mean, it's not as like good and direct as something like this, but it's, it kind of gets the same job done. It's just a little more tedious. But so the reason why I do that is because if I go to my ready list, guess what? There are a shitload of days where none of these triggers pop, right? Like Airbnb, oh, it's close to another trigger. So Airbnb, right, the trigger's right here for me. But guess what? If Monday's a big ass red day and it doesn't reach it and it goes down, then none of these work. But what happens is, because I've done so many triggers, because I've lived in this office, I got things popping off all day that have nothing to do with my watch list, right? And then I can check. So like I might get, I don't know, Dollar Tree right here. Might just pop the fuck off, right? So I get an alert for Dollar Tree. And let's pretend that the trigger was actually, I don't know, here or something like that. And it just broke it right there. Remember, again, this is like pretending. So I could just go to Unusual Whales and say, oh, shit, my Dollar Tree broke. Let's see what's going on with them. The quick view, I might see, oh, okay, this volume to open interest really picked up. I like Dollar Tree. I'm going to hop in Dollar Tree on the retest. It's a pretty fast process when you have all your triggers made. The other thing that makes me want to talk about is, I mean, it doesn't really have to do with watch list creation, but this is important. When you get a trigger break, right? Like, let's pretend, again, let's pretend again, that this was your trigger break on the hourly for Snap, right? That actually was a trigger break on the hourly for Snap, I think. And you break up, and here's the thing. You've got all your triggers on your list done, right? And you break above your trigger, and you've got like 3 or 4 things above your trigger because it's a super green day, and you can't keep track of all the ones, whether they complete their retest or not. A really easy way to deal with that is, so pretend, for example, that these don't exist yet, right? Those are, right now we're here in time. And this is the only candle that we have. We're going to go to the 5-minute for it. Remember I said in the last video, we create our triggers on the hourly, we do our retests on the 5-minute, and we do our trend lines on the 15-minute. So it's broken through the trigger, and we want to know if it survives the retest, but we can't keep track of like 5 different stocks that have just broken the trigger. So what I do in that situation is I create another little trigger, like right above the previous one. I hope this is making sense. So if it breaks the trigger, I create one on the 5-minute just above the actual trigger, and I put an alert there, right? Crosses below that level. And then that way I know that it's on real watch for the full retest, if that makes sense. So that way I'm not wasting my time looking at all these over here that might not have, that might be gone and not be retesting, right? I want to know which ones are the process of the retest. So it's just another way to whittle it down so that you know that you're looking at what's important instead of trying to follow 15 things. This little method right here becomes really important on green gap up days when everything is running and they're past your trigger without retests and you just need something to come back down to touch. That'll give you a new alert for what's coming back down to touch. So that's that. So I talked about retesting. I talked about sending the alerts. I talked about checking the volume to OI. The last thing I just want to say is kind of tie this all together and go through it. Just to be clear on what it is I'm saying. This video is almost exactly the amount of time as the last one, which is cool. The first thing I'm saying is be accountable to yourself. Every week you need to be tracking what trades you enter. Like, for example, at the bottom of this one, I had said, so my clear issue is minimizing the losses I do have and playing a few more plays. the past 2 weeks I played less and let the ones I lost hurt more than the first week. So I'm keeping track of what I'm doing. You should be journaling the trades that you enter. It's almost like riding a bike, where by writing about it or by practicing it, you start to learn what it is you're getting bad at. So that's really important. Is tracking and trading and journaling and being accountable and transparent to yourself. Get a trade buddy, send me your plays. I don't care, but all this culture I've been to it with like whispering call outs under the covers and shit, and nobody knows how you did, and all that's got to stop. And you're gonna be a part of the wave that stops that, I hope. So talking again about sourcing the watch list, I'm looking at the alerts that are available. I'm looking for outside the money whale alerts that expire within about a month. And I am going to those and I'm seeing on my master list if those are ready or not. So if this was, GE from that previous list, I'm splitting up my watch list into 4 different ones. One is the master list, which is where everything I keep is. That is dynamic. You do not delete anything. You only add things. Never take anything out of this. This is your bread and butter. The next one is my list of simmering stocks, which are within 4% or closer to their trigger. The next one I have is my ready list, which are 1% or closer to the trigger. The reason I segment these is for clarity, and then when I do my nightly and weekly maintenance, I go through my ready list, see what's still ready. If it's not, but it's still close, it goes to simmering. If it's not, and it's not even close anymore, it's deleted and goes back to the master list. When you're holding on to play, or when you're picking plays and you want to know what's striking expiration, if I have a good amount of room between what the whale is doing, or if I have a good amount of room between my trigger and my price target, damn, Tesla fucking rocking. If I have a good amount of space between my trigger and my price target, I'm likely going to go for a swing, put a little time on it, and give it a chance to reach that price target as if it's filling that gap. If I'm being disciplined and I just want in and out of a play, I see the targets nearby, I'm probably going to do that same week if it's Thursday or sooner, next week if it's after. And in both of these examples, I'm going to choose a strike that is outside the money. For the same week expiration, it's going to be something that's reasonably outside the money. And by that, I mean the next contract outside the money. So if my stock is at 70 and the next contract outside of the money is 72.50, I'm going to pick that one. And then I'm going to sell it immediately when it crosses target 1 with no exceptions, because 15, 20, 25%, 30% on a play is fine, no matter what the world wants you to think. They're not all 300% plays. I'm sorry, that's not realistic. When it comes to the swings, I will choose something outside the money a little bit further. I will probably not go as far as the whale, but I will go likely between my trigger price and the whale's target and split it in half. That's actually where you make a lot of the money. As far as following the whales, make sure you give them breathing room, give them a week out. And if you have a gap up, please be sure to take profits on the gap up. A lot of times that's what they're playing. They're not staying in it until the expiration. The whale just knows that something's going to happen and they take their profits and they move on. It fades more than half the time. So please take your profits on the gap up. Those are a gift. I got 95% on Wells Fargo, taking the gap up. It could have been 200%, but guess what? I got 95% and I'm happy with it. And then make sure that you do your maintenance. And of course, when your trigger breaks and you're on the 5-minute, create a little mini trigger for when it's coming down for the retest, so you know that if it's retesting, just a little bit above your actual trigger. So that way when it crosses it, you get an alert. Last thing, you have to set up alerts for your watch list. If your brokerage doesn't offer that, then, or your charting software, whatever, then please use Yahoo Finance. It's so important that you get these alerts, because when things don't work out on your watch list, it's not like on your ready list. You can't just sit on your fucking hands and not trade for the entire day. You'll always get other alerts when you have your list done. Sorry if that was unclear. I hope it was clear. theheat.substack.com. Theheat.substack.com is where we put a lot of these tutorials. You can ask me questions. Twitter at your boy Built. Please let me know if this is clear. All right, guys. Have a good day. Bye.